Hello. Thank you for joining me. I am Hersakona Kolfina and Kira Otter's daughter, the current Kingdom Web Minister of Ansteorra within the Society for Creative Anachronism. Today I'm going to be talking about integration across platforms, tools that can make the web minister's job easier. Target audience for this is local web ministers in Ansteorra, local seneschals, web minister deputies, and anybody interested in making it simpler to communicate information across multiple platforms for your local group. The objective today is to review a few tools that can make the web minister's job easier by helping to centralize communication, and make it easier to keep information up to date. So here we go. Here's the general plan for this class. I'm going to start out by stating the problem. What is it that we're trying to solve here? I'm then going to go through 4 different tools. First one is Google Suite, which is actually a collection of tools. Then I'm going to talk about Google Calendar, ChronicleBot, and Zapier. Now, I expect Google Suite and Google Calendar to be somewhat familiar to you. ChronicleBot and Zapier, this may be the first time you're hearing about them. So let's dive in. State the problem. What are we trying to solve here? The problem. 1. Populace members in Ansteorra and everywhere use many different platforms to view information. Some folks like to use Facebook. Some folks like to use Discord. Some people only want to view the website, and some people only want to check their email. This can make it very hard to make sure that everybody is getting the information that you want them to see in front of their face. It makes it hard because whoever's updating that information, often the web minister, but usually it's some combination of web ministers, seneschals, social media officers. But updating that information in multiple places is time consuming, and we've all seen it. It often results in mistakes or missed information. That site gets updated, this one doesn't. So your Populace members are getting different information, and it can cause confusion, and we don't want that. A lot of times, too, we depend on a single person to make updates, and quickly. Oh, we got to get the website updated. The Facebook needs to be updated. And depending on a single person to make updates quickly, it can often lead to a bottleneck. If your web minister is the only person who can update your calendar details and they are on vacation, you just have to wait, and we don't want that. So those are the problems that we're kind of trying to address with these tools. But generally, centralizing information and simplifying the update process will ease the burden on web ministers and social media officers and seneschals. And it will help you ensure that the information that you want your populace to see actually gets to all of the places that your populace is looking, or the most popular ones, and it actually can help increase populace engagement, because if your populace members are on Facebook and they're seeing up-to-date information on Facebook, they're probably more likely to come to activities, to comment, to like, to engage, or to attend things. And if the folks who are using Discord are seeing the information in front of them, they're more likely to engage, more likely to see activities are happening and attend. So there's a lot of benefits to this in a lot of different ways. So let's talk about some tools. So how can we actually help this? First one, again, I said it's a collection of tools that I'm going to talk about, is Google Suite. Google Suite is the overall term for tools that you may recognize, like Google Drive, Docs, Sheets, Slides. So Google Suite, I may also call it GSuite because that's an abbreviation for it. It's a little faster to say. But it's a collection of what they call productivity apps that are compatible with most devices, most browsers, and they are designed to make it easy to add editors, commenters, viewers, and they're also targeted for really easy, like embedding, which can be useful for our websites. Specifically for Ansteorra, for our local web ministers and local groups, we typically mostly use Google Drive, Sheets, Forms, and Slides. Ansteorran officers have free access to these GSuite tools, as well as storage through Google Drive, which is awesome, through your official email login. Since we're a nonprofit educational organization, Ansteorra, and as a result, the local groups within it get access to GSuite domains that you can use for your groups, which is awesome. For any of these apps, drives, sheets, forms, slides, you just go to whatever the app name is, .google.com. So drive.google.com will get you to Google Drive. So as an example, we're going to go to drive.google.com. So this will give you your view of your Google Drive. These are attached to Google accounts. So right now I'm logged in as my Kingdom Web Minister account, and you can see I've got a variety of files in here. The home view will usually give you files that you've edited or viewed recently. You can also check your activity. You can look at your drive, which is basically a file browser. You can see here because we have those nonprofit accounts, I have 30 gigabytes of storage available to me, and I'm only using 4.46 of that. So we've got a lot of storage in here. If I go to my drive, you can see I've got folders in here that helps me organize files. And these little icons in here will kind of show you what different types are in here. So Google Drive allows you to organize files. It's stored in the cloud, so that means it's not the file does not exist on the hard drive of your computer, and if you're away from your computer, you can't access it. It's stored in a remote storage, so that if you go to Google Drive on your phone, on your tablet, when you're traveling, you'll be able to access those files anywhere. So that's basically what Google Drive is. It's great for storage. And specifically in Google Drive at the Kingdom level, I use this to organize our Kingdom library. So our Ansteorra library is available on the website. And basically this is a database of, you can see here, forms, waivers, reporting links, things like that. And I store for things that need to be stored. I put them in my Google Drive. If things are hosted at the society level, I just link to them there. And so this is how I organize the Kingdom library. And so the files for that I store in my Google Drive. Same sorts of thing. I can go to sheets.google.com. So if you've used Microsoft Excel or any sort of spreadsheet application, Google Sheets does the same thing. Google kind of one of their focus is application cooperation, and so these are tend to be compatible. Like they can ingest Microsoft Excel documents, you can export a sheet as an Excel, and so it's a pretty good a flexible application for our purposes. When you go to Sheets, it gives you, here's things you've had recently, can prompt you with some templates for making sheets. And I'm actually going to go back to that Ansteorra library. Once you're in it, and especially if you're familiar with Excel, it's just you're editing a spreadsheet. And not a whole lot of fancy there. I'm not going to go into the details of how to make a spreadsheet, but I do want to show you. So remote storage, yes. Easy to access from multiple devices, yes. But why is this useful for our websites? It's useful because Google lets you embed and share these documents very easily. So if you go to File, Share, Publish to the web, you have the option to publish this spreadsheet and generate a link of one tab, the whole document. You can also get stuff for here we go. Here's one that's already published. A link, for example, this one's already published, which is why it's showing up. Link to a web page for this spreadsheet. So if I grab this and I paste it in here, oh look, here's the whole spreadsheet as a web page. That's kind of ugly. I don't like that. But I can also say, what if I grab the iframe code for this? So iframe is a particular type of keyword that's used in HTML that allows you to embed things in pages. And so Google says, if you want to put this on a web page, here's the code that lets you do it. And that code is based off of the URL for the page, which means that you drop this on your website, and then your spreadsheet you can just keep that up to date however you want. So that's pretty cool. It makes it easy. Some files that are accessible anywhere, you can edit them, but still, this still leaves your webmaster potentially being the only one who can edit this file. This is where the other power of GSuite really comes into play, and this applies for any file, any other application types. Is that, say for this library, I want a few trusted officers to be able to edit it. So for example, Kingdom Seneschal, maybe the Kingdom Chronicler. I may say I want them to be able to edit this spreadsheet so that if I'm not around, they can make changes as they need to. Google lets you share editing access for anything in your Google Drive with other email addresses. And so if I wanted to add, Kingdom Chronicler, Kingdom Hospitaller, Vinheim Webmaster, for example, I can add them, and then you can choose what sort of access they get. So say potentially I was going to add our Kingdom Chronicler, I get to choose, can they edit it, can they comment, or can they just view it? And this is a new feature, you can add an expiration. So if say you need to be able to add, say your event steward, to be able to edit a document, but you don't want them to be able to edit it after the event, you put an expiration date on it. So that if you have a document that you need multiple officers to be able to edit, you can do that. And then from the website side of things, embed that in your site. Your officers can edit it whenever they want from wherever they want, and it makes it a lot easier to keep these things up to date. Google Sheets, so there's also Google Docs, docs.google.com. Nope. Is it kind of like that? There we go. Google Docs, right? These are the equivalent of Word documents. Here's a good one, our draft Webmaster's Handbook. The interface is very, very similar to Microsoft Word, or honestly any sort of document editor. Type in your text, resize your images, same sort of thing. You can generate a document, but you get the same sort of publishing features that you get, that we saw with Sheets, the same sort of share access features that you have for the Google Drive, anything in your Google Drive. And so this becomes a really powerful way. So for example, if you have a list of your class descriptions for your event, and you want your event steward and your class coordinator to be able to edit it, you or they can create a Google document, share it with the people that need access, maybe with an expiration date, publish it to the web, embed it on your site, and then your event steward and class coordinator can just edit that document and not have to mess with logging into the website at all. They just have to keep that document up to date. And it can be a really easy way to keep your website up to date while also delegating the actual editing to the people who know the information. And then the last one, forms.google.com. Oops, helps to type it right. Same sort of thing, but this is specifically for creating forms. One example I'll pull up is my Webmaster warrant form. This is the form that webmasters have to fill out in order to be warranted and added to my roster. Learning the interface on this takes a little bit of practice, but it's pretty straightforward. You have this little editing bar on the side, and that gives you the options for what you want to do next. You want to add a question, import a question from somewhere, and then add other features to it. And then same sort of thing with this. You can just send the form, generate a link, copy that, send that to people to fill out. You can also add editors and collaborators. So same sort of thing, if you've got something and you need multiple officers to be able to edit it, or if it would just be easier if that officer had direct access to edit the form, you can add them as an editor and go from there. The neat thing about Google Forms, Google Docs, Google Drive is that, you can create documents, forms, sheets in your Google Drive and add other people as editors, but it can go the other way around too. If your Seneschal has a document that they want to, embed on the website, they can add your webmaster as an editor or a viewer. Well, if you want to be able to publish it, it would be editor, so that then you can have the access you need in order to then embed it on the website. So The other thing that's really important, you may ask, I'm adding other people as editors to this document. How will I know who did what? Well, Google Drive has version control and it keeps track of version histories. So anytime you want to check a document, like it got changed, maybe now it's wrong and you need to find out what happened and what it was before, Google keeps track of version history for all of these document types. Well, maybe not for forms. I haven't tried that one, but docs, sheets, slides, there's version history. And you can always say, you know what, we know it was right on the 11th. Let's go back to that version. And you have the options to restore a version. You can name it, label it. You can make a copy. You can do all sorts of stuff from that. And so that is the really neat thing of adding, specific officers as editors. You also can see the history, version history changes, and in that it also shows you who made what changes. So can be a really powerful tool. You can, look about it, think about it, talk about it with your other officers, and see if this you could maybe make use of this to make editing content a little easier. Talked a little bit about embedding. I showed that, but I'll say this again here. The way to embed these Google Docs, you go to File, Share, Publish to the web, and that's how you get either links or the embed code. Other officers can edit the document. You can add them as editors, and then when they make those changes, your website will automatically get updated, which saves time for you. Good examples, it's great for schedules, class descriptions, meeting notes, things like that. And I did want to show you one more example, which is our Roundtable site, where I use this type of .org Roundtable. I embed the schedule from a Google Sheet. So on Ansteorra.org/roundtable, we have our schedule. You can see this kind of looks like a spreadsheet, and that's because it is. The spreadsheet itself is in Google Drive. Let's see, is it in here? Roundtable. It's not in here. Here's an old one. Okay, I'm not going to go into that. But basically, it's a spreadsheet that is editable by multiple officers. So our Roundtable tech lead, the class coordinator, web minister, and sometimes Kingdom Seneschal, depends how involved they are with that, then can all access the schedule, see the schedule, make changes to it. And me as the web minister, I don't have to keep that up to date. I don't have to ask them to give me the information and edit it. They can just do it directly. And it's a huge time saver. All right, the next one I want to talk about is Google Calendar. This is going to kind of cover general use, the easy editing of activities, or how to make it easier, and then also how to embed Google Calendars on your sites. So Google Calendar, if you've never heard of it, is a calendar application that we have access to via our official email accounts. It can make it very easy for officers to update the details of their own activities. So you may have the experience, I have my website as a local web minister, say I am one. In the Society Web Ministers Handbook and the Kingdom Web Ministers Handbook, one of my responsibilities as a web minister is to keep activity information up to date on the website. This can cause a lot of bottlenecks, because if I'm the web minister and I can update the website, but I'm not the guild leader for, Scribble, I don't know the details for the Scribble activity, so I would have to go ask our Scribble guild lead to get them to give me the information so I can put it on the website. But this adds steps, it adds delays, and a lot of times the result is calendar activities don't get updated on the website, which is a bummer that we want to avoid. Google Calendar can help with that. The really cool feature that this calendar offers is the ability to add other officers or guild leaders or teachers as guests to the calendar event, and you can give them the ability to modify the event. So if the Scribble guild leader has all the details for their Scribble activity, you can add them as an editor for that calendar item, and then they can just update it. They don't have to go through you, you don't have to bug them. You may still have to nudge them and say, yo, go update that. But it removes the need for the web minister to be the only person who can make changes to the calendar. So let me do a quick demo for our Google Calendar. Calendar.google.com. Nope. Calendar.google.com. So this is another tool in GSuite, but I wanted to talk about this one specifically just because it's super useful for keeping your activities up to date. So this is my Kingdom calendar. You can see I've got imported the Ansteorra calendar of activities, and then I have a couple other things on here. But Google Calendar, just like Sheets and Slides, you go to calendar.google.com. Top right corner on desktop, you can see which Google account it's attached to. And creating an activity is pretty simple. I just say create something. I'm going to create an event. So this is my test event for class. I can schedule it. I can choose a specific time. I can find a time if I need to. I don't actually need that though. I can add, if it's virtual, I can add a Google Meet conferencing. You can add a location, add a description, a lot of cool stuff in here. But the really, really cool thing is that you can add guests. So if I want to have this event, and maybe the Kingdom Seneschal needs to be an editor on it, the Vindheim Web Minister needs to have an editor, maybe our Marshall, Rapier Marshall, right? I can add all these people, and then, this is important, I can update the guest permissions. By default, when you add guests to an event, they can invite other people and see the guest list, but the real powerful one here is you can give them the ability to modify the event. For your local fighter practice, say, you know, we're having lots of torrential rain and your practice is outside and you need to cancel it, or you need to update the description to say canceled. If the web minister is maintaining your calendar and they're the only person who can edit the activity, you better hope that they're available. But if you add other officers as editors appropriately, you add your Rapier Marshal, your Knight Marshal, maybe your C&T Marshals, whoever's responsible for that practice. Add your local Seneschal, and maybe if there's another relevant officer, right? Basically, the people that are responsible for that official activity, you can give them the ability to update the details. Now, in this view, this event is just showing up on calendar.google.com, which is cool, but not really useful for a Populace member. I'm going to go to Bringelad as an example. So on our Bringelad website, you as a web minister can use a specific plugin on your dashboard to import Google Calendars into your website. Beautifully, this plugin is just called Calendars. And it allows you to import. So if I go to create new, put in the name, you can customize what sorts of details show up in it. You can customize the events, the appearance, and then you can put in the calendar. So if I wanted to add the calendar for, say, Bringelad, the web minister's Google Calendar, then I could put in that email address, and then the main calendar for that officer would then get imported to the website. You can create activities on that website, add other officers as editors, and then when they update their events, it'll just show up on the website. The other really cool thing about calendars is that if someone invites the web minister to an event as a guest, I can add that to my calendar. And so your Scribble Guild leader on their personal Google Calendar could create a Google event for Scribble Guild. They can add the web minister as an editor, as a guest rather, and then that event will show up on the web minister's calendar, which means it'll show up on your website. And so these are features within Google Calendar that you can use to distribute the editing task to the people who actually have the information. It's super powerful. If you have any other questions about it, please let me know, because it can do a lot. The next tool that I want to talk about is ChronicleBot. You're using Google Calendar, you're adding your officers as editors so they can update events when they get the information. You've got it embedded on your website. This is great. But wouldn't it be cool if your local events also showed up in your local Discord server? That's what this bot does. It's an event management app that connects Google Calendar to your Discord. An admin for your server has to invite the bot. That's standard practice for a Discord. You configure it via a web browser, and Discord events will automatically stay up to date with your Google Calendar. So if I have fighter practice on the calendar and my officer changes it to new location and they save the event, a few minutes later it'll be updated in Discord. It's incredibly powerful. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at this bad boy. So ChronicleBot. Remember if it's just .com. It is. ChronicleBot.com. So I'm going to log in. So it's checking. Let me log in real quick. Log into the bot, you have to authenticate and make sure that you are you, and then you can get to see the what they call them are notifiers that you have configured. So I have two configured here. One is a notifier that goes from the Ansteorra Kingdom calendar to the Ansteorra Discord, and one that's a notifier that goes from the Bringelod calendar to the Bringelod Discord. You can see here, these are the calendars that it's sourcing from, and if I click on, I like the Bringelod one. Bringelod, this is the interface to customize it. You can customize event reminders. This space says how many days in the future should it search for events, and then how many hours before the activity do you want a reminder good to go. And you can see here you have the option to add multiple reminders. You have to be careful with things like this because you don't want to overload how often you're sending notifications to people, because if you send too many, people will start ignoring you. You can customize summaries. So at a scheduled time, a summary of upcoming events can be sent to your channel. You can customize the event sync. So syncing Google Calendars to Discord events. Basically, this causes it to create, update, and cancel the Discord events that it finds in connected calendars. So that's kind of cool. And then there's some other additional settings which we shouldn't need. This is for if you want to do custom coding and things, which you can dig into that if you really need to it, but I'm not going to talk about it for this. And then that's that. And so the events in your Discord server, it checks periodically for the Google Calendar, and if it notices changes, new events added, events removed, it'll update the events in your Discord server for you, so you don't have to go manually update your Discord events whenever they change. Saves a lot of time, a lot of energy. Your social media officers will probably love it. And tell them about it, because it may be that the person you want to set this up is your social media officer. And we do have the kingdom level Discord officer, and this is something that I have mentioned to Runa, and I did have an idea of maybe seeing if we couldn't get this implemented kind of from the kingdom level, since our Discord deputy is an admin in all of our official servers. It could be that's a way we go, but for now that's what it is. So start hype. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about today, the last tool, is Zapier. I'm going to talk about what are zaps and give you a couple of common usage examples. So Zapier is an automation software tool that is designed to send information from one application to another. It has some limitations. You need admin access depending on the applications. Facebook, for example, you have to be an admin if you're going to a group or a page. So random, normal members that don't have any administrative powers cannot configure something like this. Zapier lets you test and update zaps before publishing, and this is where it's useful for us, it can connect to common social apps that our Populace uses. Facebook, Discord, email lists, things like that. the really cool thing is that Zapier can help you have a single place where your local group posts updates, your website as blog posts, and Zapier can automatically share that information to your Populace platforms. Can automatically post on Facebook to say, hey, here's an announcement, and here's the summary. Hey, here's an announcement, here's the summary, drops in Discord, so that you don't have to copy paste, you don't have to mess with updating things. And if the information changes, you can update the post on the website so that that's the single place that has the information, and everywhere else is getting notifications, which helps minimize mismatch information. So let's do a little demo again. So I'm going to go to Zapier.com. And Zapier does allow you to do Google authentication, which is nice because then you can attach it to your official account and it will follow the officer along, which is nice. So let's get this logged in. Me. There we go. Continue. So they recently added this, they've got a beta AI thing. I haven't used that and I'm not going to talk about it today. But what I'm going to look for, so if I skip that on my dashboard, I can see, it shows me my recent zaps. You can see I have two. One is from an Ansteorra blog to the Ansteorra Facebook page. This is on. And one is from Ansteorra RSS to the Ansteorra mailing list, also on. So blog and RSS, you can see the icons here. They have the identical icons. These are both sourcing from the same thing. Apparently, when I created these, I named one blog and one RSS. I'll explain that in a little bit. So if I click on, let's go my zaps, you can see I have two, blog to Facebook, blog to mailing list. So let's look at some existing ones. I'm going to do the blog to the mailing list. And the reason that this one is called Ansteorra RSS is that the actual trigger in this is a new item in a feed in RSS. I use this one for demos a lot, so I have a lot of things. So we use WordPress for our websites, which means any website that you have. So for example, if I wanted to use this for Moonshadow /feed, that would be the blog for the Moonshadow website. /feed is a URL that you get for free with WordPress because it's very much designed around blogs and features related to that. And so this grabs specifically the RSS feed for that website. And so this is new item in a feed. It gets triggered when there is a different URL. This is what's recommended. In these, so configuring this, I can choose the app and event for the trigger. So the trigger is basically what causes Zapier to like cross-post information when it's triggered. This is RSS by Zapier. You can customize what does it trigger, what is it looking for, and then Zapier also lets you test your triggers before you even do anything. And so you can say, go look for new records if you have a new post that's come out. So if I can go find new records, see that one's for March. Now it says February 2024. So that's pulled in kind of the latest entries from the RSS feed. So that's cool. Then you get to configure an action. So once it gets triggered, it has to then do something. So we configure the action. So for this one, the action is the send an email in Gmail. So the event, you can customize it. You know, what's it going to do? Gmail has a lot of things. So you could be creating a label, creating a draft. You can do all sorts of stuff here. Sending an email is kind of for local webmaster blog cross-posting. That's about as in-depth as you need to get. So then you say, who's sending the email, right? I'm the Kingdom Webmaster. This is getting sent by my Kingdom email. And then what's the action? So the action in this case is sending to our Ansteorra Announce email list from the Kingdom Webmaster that sets the reply to our do not reply email address. This prevents me from getting spam if people say reply all. And then I get to configure what do people see. So the subject of the email is the title of the blog post. And then the body of the email, you can see I've got HTML in here to format it nicely so that it looks nice in the email. But basically you get the title, publish date, you get to insert basically all of these fields. And then I do short description, which is an excerpt. in your blog post. And then the necessary disclaimers that people in there. And then same thing like, like the trigger, Zapier also lets you test your actions anytime you do it. And so if you're setting one of these up for the first time, it basically walks you step by step for setting it up, making sure the connections work. And then once you publish it, that Zap basically just kind of hangs around and listens for the trigger. So both of these listen and wait around to see when there's a new URL in the RSS feed, so a new blog post, and then they post away. And so anytime I make a blog post on the Kingdom website, these two Zaps automatically cross-post that to our Facebook page and our mailing list. Hopefully you've seen some of those, but now you can keep an eye out for them. I like Zapier a lot. We've been using it in Bringlot for a long time. We've been using it at the Kingdom level for a while now to post like Kingdom law updates and things like that. And it's been really, really handy to kind of cut down on the copy pasting that we have to do to make announcements. I talked through some of these, but a couple of Zaps that are used in a few groups that are worth considering for your local group. These are the ones I recommend. Is centralizing your information on your website using blog posts to make announcements. So you can have a Zap that listens to the feed and sends it to your Facebook group. You have one that listens to your feed and sends it to your Discord channel. Have one that listens to your feed and sends it to your email list. And then this is a leftover tab from a different presentation, so we're going to ignore that. So what have I talked about? State of the problem. The problem is we have a lot of information, a lot of Populace members on a lot of different platforms, and we want to take advantage of tools that minimize the legwork needed to update all the information in all the places. Tools that we talked about was Google Suite, Forms, Sheets, Docs, Slides, Google Calendar, which can ease the burden of keeping your local activities up to date because of its ability to add people as guests to an event, that have the ability to modify the event. That can be very powerful for helping keep your sites up to date. Talked about ChronicleBot. Take those events, dump them in your Discord server. And then we also talked about Zapier. I didn't talk about this, but I do want to make a mention of somebody who's probably asking yourself, well, can I not automatically put my events in Facebook too? Unfortunately, the answer for that is no. Facebook as a platform is extremely territorial about the information that you put into it, and it unlike Google, is not designed around smooth integration with other applications to get information out of it and into it. And so this could change in the future, but there's not really currently a great way to get activities from Google Calendar into Facebook groups. And so could be you may have to do a little bit of Populace retraining to get folks to sync the Google Calendar to their phones and check the website for things. But that integration still needs a little bit of work because Facebook's a little territorial in my experience. All right. Thank you so much for joining. I hope this little overview of tools to make your life easier as a web minister was helpful, and have a great rest of your day.